Theme parks are known for their immersive environments, but did you know that many of the elements featured in these amusement settings is art from the past? My name is Chris, and I'm an art historian and theme park fan, and I want to tell you the background of many of the things you commonly see around you.
At the D23 Ultimate Fan event, it was revealed that Imagineers are working on a Villain's Land for the Magic Kingdom. Josh D'Amaro announced at the Parks and Experiences presentation that this new land would be a brand new expansion of the park. Imagineers have a clean slate to work with. But what could they do with it? Well, a bit more was revealed at Destination D23 in 2025, where it was explained that Imagineers were looking to incorporate Art-Nouveau styles into the new land. Then, on Instagram, a post revealed that they traveled to other countries for inspiration. The locations of some of these inspirations are in France and Spain. You've probably heard of Art-Nouveau, but aren't really familiar with what that means. It can also often be mistaken for Art Deco, an art style and movement that came right on the heels of Art Nouveau. So what is Art Nouveau? To answer that, we first need to go back a few decades before its inception. The Industrial Revolution that enabled mass production was from 1760 to 1840. What this meant, in terms of the impact of art, is that people were getting used to mass-produced items. Furniture, prints, and even buildings were putting function over craft. Photography was also developed in 1839. And perfected enough for portraits by 1841. Photos became art that captured items, people, or moments exactly as they are in complete realistic detail. At the same time, the academies of art in Europe, who oversaw the field of art, was a bit rigid. Many artists calling themselves the avant-garde began to break away so that they could experiment with artistry. The art world started to change to more impressionistic and expressionistic styles to explore how art can let viewers have different experiences other than from academic rigidity. Art Nouveau was a genre that spun out of all of these elements in history. Art Nouveau lasted mostly just a decade from 1890 to 1900. Even though it lasted a short time compared to other art movements, it still had a huge impact on art and architecture even today. The name is French for new art. The main objective of the artist was to unify all design aspects into an integrated whole like the way it is in nature. Jean Chauffeur, an art expert in 1902, stated 6 principles that defended the Art Nouveau movement. These principles emphasize the nature aspect of the art, the decorative style of it, and that it incorporates beautiful materials. Art Nouveau had its influences from previous movements including arts and crafts, Rococo, and Gothic styles. The Imagineers at the D23 Villains panel didn't name artists for their inspirations, but they did name some locations they visited to develop concepts. In the presentation, there's an example of French Art Nouveau that is probably the most famous example. It is Hector Guimard's Metro sign. Guimard's Metro entrance signs were put in Paris around 1899. Besides signage, he also produced organic-looking furniture. The Metro signs also have an organic look to them, almost like they are shooting up from the ground, sprouting as vines. The entrances and signs were what thrusted Art Nouveau to a wide audience in Paris. There's an homage to the Guimard Metro signs at the France Pavilion at Epcot, but I'll save the history of these particular pieces for a different time. Claude Frontici has pointed out how the use of ironwork in Guimard's work elevated that material to a new level in artwork. Guimard summarized his work in terms of logic, harmony, and feeling. The idea of harmony might have come from the exposure of the arts and crafts movement, which unified the aesthetics of furniture to buildings. The arts and crafts movement is a style seen in the Grand Californian at the Disneyland Resort, by the way. Elsewhere in France, in the town of Nancy, there were designers taking up different approaches to Art Nouveau. Butterflies were common motifs among the École de Nancy, as the Art Nouveau movement was called there. One example are how wings are incorporated into shapes in the Société Générale by Biet. From Spain, the main example given is from Gaudí's Park Güell. He is perhaps the most intriguing of Art Nouveau designers. He is known for having freedom of line among his work, and it's still revolutionary and dynamic to this very day. It's a bit interesting that he has some Gothic influence to his style. Gothic architecture, though decorated, is a bit more stern and the type that we in modern day associate to cathedrals. Gaudí very well could have been influenced by Gothic architecture because of living around Catalan for much of his life. There seems to be a link between the Catalan Gothic architecture and Gaudí's own. Gaudí used architectural impressions of things like coral forms or sandy beaches to fit into building styles at times. Moving waves are conveyed in stone walls as part of his Casamia. Imagineers have cited Park Güell specifically as a prime source of inspiration for their designs. Park Güell, which is on the outskirts of Barcelona, is where Gaudí had unique geometric compositions for the shapes of his architecture. A cave space is in the shape of a torus. Parabolic curves create arches instead of more traditional circular ones. Stephen Looking has said that Gaudí's expression of nature in this space also shows the nature of mathematics. So what could this all mean for the villain's land? Plenty. Gaudí's creative use of space and organic structure means very fanciful caves for a villain or two. Think of Ursula's lair as being this asymmetrical shell structure with wild parabolic arches and coral-crusted walls. Or Imagineers can lean heavy into Gaudí's Gothic influences and have a creative building for Frollo. For France, we have ornate, plant-like, and vine-like structures that would serve Maleficent well. It would pay homage to her briars as she ascended into dragon form in Sleeping Beauty. Taking a cue from the town of Nancy and its butterfly motifs, perhaps more villainish animals could serve as new patterns for buildings. Bat wings could spread out in Ironwork for Chernobog's mountain-type layer. Or perhaps even dragon wings as a common motif around the whole land. I think the biggest thing to take away from knowing the essentials of Art Nouveau and applying it to the villain's land is the idea of nature being a strong element in all architecture. There's also creative use of space that creates organically dynamic looks to traditional buildings. This is going to be a land that looks like it's sprung up from the ground. It's possible that it will be so unique we haven't seen anything like it in any park, anywhere. Imagine being surrounded by ironwork vines with overlapping batwing roofs, yet you're not entirely sure that those are really what they are. But tell me what you think the land will look like in the comments. Well, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I have others about art in the theme parks. So be sure to subscribe and like this video to know when other videos spring up in the future.